Have you ever thought about how truly strange it is that we even exist? Today, we're diving into a puzzle that starts with a really simple, almost trivial fact about our own bodies, but it ends up asking one of the biggest questions you can possibly imagine. Okay, get this. From the moment you're born to the day you're a full-grown adult, your brain gets bigger by 400%. It literally quadruples in size. But your eyes, they barely change. They only grow by about 40%. They're already almost adult-sized when you're a baby. Now, on the surface, that's just a weird piece of trivia, right? But stick with me, because that strange fact is the key to unlocking a massive puzzle. And that's where we begin our tale of two organs. This simple biological fact cracks open a really profound mystery about design. I mean, how does our body possibly manage this wild, totally out of proportion growth and keep everything working perfectly the whole time? To really appreciate how weird this is, let's think like an engineer for a second. If you took two different, complex microprocessors and just smashed their blueprints together, what would you get? You'd get a complete disaster, a non-functional mess. Same thing for software. Try merging the source code for two different operating systems. It's a recipe for catastrophic failure every single time. And yet, biology pulls this off constantly. Think about it. Evolution is this super slow process, taking millions of years and countless failed attempts to come up with a working change. But reproduction? That takes two incredibly complex, independently evolved genetic blueprints and merges them in one single step. And somehow, it just works. So that's the heart of it right there. The improbable merger. How in the world does biology succeed, time after time, in a situation where all of our engineering knowledge screams, this should be impossible? I mean, the odds here are just staggering. If you tried to merge two microprocessors, you'd have a 99.999% chance of complete failure. But when you merge two human genomes, two completely unique sets of DNA, the result, almost without fail, is a perfectly functional working brain. How is that even possible? You know, let's bring this down to earth. We see tiny little design glitches from this genetic merger all the time. You might get your dad's big teeth and your mom's small jaw, and bam, you need braces. It's a common, pretty simple misalignment. But think about this. When have you ever heard of someone's brain and consciousness being misaligned? Where the parts are there, but the person, the subjective experience, just fails to boot up. It's practically unheard of. And yet the brain is infinitely more complex than a jawline. And that is the absolute core of the question. If this genetic lottery can't even guarantee that our teeth will line up correctly, how on earth does it so reliably produce the single most complex object in the known universe, a conscious, self-aware brain, without making catastrophic mistakes? And this is where the puzzle gets even deeper, because we're not just talking about a biological machine that works. We're talking about the source of your thoughts, your feelings, your entire experience of reality. We are talking about consciousness itself. You may have heard of this. Philosophers call it the hard problem of consciousness. It's this profound mystery of how a 3-pound lump of wetware, just cells and electricity, can generate the subjective, private, first-person feeling of being alive, the experience of seeing the color red or the smell of coffee. But maybe there's an even harder question. It's not just, how does consciousness happen at all? It's, how is it so reliably passed on? How is that inner subjective world preserved through this constant chaotic shuffling of genes, generation after generation, across billions of unique individuals? And don't forget where we started. This conscious system has to work perfectly from day one. It has to be fully functional in a tiny 350-gram baby brain, and then it has to scale up seamlessly as that brain quadruples in size to 1,400 grams without a single glitch in consciousness. The sheer complexity of that is just, well, it's mind-boggling. And, you know, this isn't just a brain problem. This is a problem of total system harmony. You've got all these different parts of your body, coded by different genes, that all have to grow and scale together with an insane level of precision. Just take your ability to see, for example. The eyeball itself, the bony socket in your skull that it sits in, the eyelid, the optic nerve connecting it to the brain, the bones of the skull around it, all of these are built from different genetic instructions.
And yet, for you to see, they all have to grow in perfect, synchronized harmony.
And this isn't just a human thing either. It works across the entire animal kingdom. A rat has a small skull, small eyes, small sockets. An eagle has a much larger skull, but its eyes are massive in proportion. Totally different designs, completely different scales, and yet, in both cases, the alignment is perfect. Which brings us to this quote that just perfectly captures the whole problem. If randomness can't reliably align teeth, how can it reliably generate a self-aware mind across billions of births? When you put it like that, the scale of the mystery becomes crystal clear. So let's try to lay this all out as a clear, illogical argument. We can call it the argument from robustness. It basically suggests that this unbelievable reliability, this robustness, might be the signature of something, well, something other than just blind chance. Okay, so follow the logic here. Step 1. We know for a fact that simple physical traits, like teeth, often fail to align perfectly when you merge two sets of genes. Step 2. The conscious brain, which is infinitely more complex, almost never fails. It just works. So, step 3, what does that imply? It implies that the genetic recipe for a brain must somehow anticipate all the possible ways the genes could be combined to make sure it works every time. And that leads to step 4. A system that can anticipate outcomes requires foresight. And blind, random, undirected chance, well, it doesn't have foresight. So, the conclusion of this line of reasoning is pretty powerful. It suggests that the only way to explain this incredible robustness is if the system was somehow authored with complete knowledge of every possible genetic combination, designed from the ground up to ensure that consciousness would always be preserved, no matter what. And so that is the final question we're left with. When you look at all of it, the seamless growth, the perfect integration of all these separate parts, and the ridiculously reliable inheritance of consciousness against what seem to be impossible odds, what are you really looking at? Is that the signature of chance? Or is it the signature of foresight?